Well, good morning, everybody. Settle in, put the kettle on, get the biscuits ready. Just under 4 days to go. There she is, basking magnificently in this beautiful spring morning sunshine. The Crucible awaits us all. But which of the 16 players lining up today will be in the draw, which is 11 o'clock on Thursday, by the way? We've got some cracking matches for you. We have 7 Chinese players, 4 Englishmen, 2 Scots, 2 Welsh and a Norwegian. It sounds like the start of a bad taste joke, but this is serious business because only 8 will be joining the top 16 in that draw. We've had tears, we've had relief, we've had elation. This week really does mean so much to all of these guys. We'll be rolling through table 1 to 8. We'll be here throughout the afternoon. We've got 9 friends in this opening session, and then we're anticipating everybody having a break until from about 3 till 4:45, and then be back at 5 o'clock to see it right the way through to the end. So here we are. We're in our commentary position, and I'm delighted to be joined, socially distanced, of course, via our perspex, by the 1997 champion of the world, Ken Doherty. Ken, we lost you early on by way of a participant, so hard luck there. But the tournament's loss is television's gain. You're at the beginning of a very long marathon yourself. Ken, we've been saying all week, we've never had so much focus and attention on the qualifiers, and it's great to see because it's blood, sweat and tears out there, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, from past experience, this is like some players, probably the big match of their season and biggest match of their life, and maybe some of their fledgling career as well. Some great interesting matches there. A lot of great quality out there this morning on show, and the pressure. It's not the most talented that's always going to get through. It's who's going to handle the pressure the best. But some cracking matches. Really looking forward to how it's going to unfold today, and of course tomorrow as well.
And what I love about this lineup, we've got a little smattering of potential debutants, and we also have former champions in the form of Graham Dott. And we spoke to Dotty yesterday. And bearing in mind he's vying for what would be his 21st year at the Crucible. Remember, he's a 3-time finalist as well as picking up the title in 2006. He's got great experience when it comes to the Crucible. It still means everything to him, even though he's been there more than a dozen times before.
Without a shadow of a doubt. It probably means more to someone like Graham Dodd because he's been to the top of the tree and lifted the trophy. So for him he's sort of witnessed all that and all those great years of playing at the Crucible. That's what he will miss. Some of these players, they haven't witnessed that yet, so he knows all about it. So he will want it just as much, if not more, than some of the other guys. But he's going to be in a wonderful battle against Tian Pang Fei from Ding Junhui's academy as well. So that's a cracking match. But yeah, for all the players today, it's really about holding the bottle, holding the nerve, be very confident. You see the shot and take it on. You know what I mean? But sometimes the occasion can get to the player. But it's going to be interesting how it unfolds.
We cannot wait. We want this to be as interactive as possible, so please get in touch with us. We know many of you are watching on the Eurosport app, and incidentally, if you want uninterrupted traditional coverage, you can find that on Table 1, Eurosport's finest commentators, headed up by none other than Dave Hendon, so you can tune into that and dip in and out of our coverage over the next few hours. We're going to be flitting around across all the tables via something known as our Octo screen. The director has come up with this great invention, so we're going to be trying to close in on key moments in different frames, or if there's a great break going on, we will try and dip into that one. If you're watching for one specific match and you haven't heard us talk about that particular table for a little while, don't worry, we will make sure we get round to everybody. That's what it looks like from the outside. The English Institute of Sport, fantastic running track and facility graced by some of Britain's finest future and current Olympians. And there's been a real buzz around this great venue over the last few days. Ken, just while we're waiting for the players to come out, one match that I'm absolutely fascinated by, Rob Milkins and Kurt Mafflin. I mean, that underlines just how hard it is to get to the Crucible, because they're both brilliantly talented, multiple ranking event semi-finalists. They've both been to the Crucible a number of times before. That is a brutal match.
It is, yeah. But I tell you what, it's not going to be a slow match, that's for sure. The both players fast and certainly go for the shots, yeah. And both have wit that Crucible magic as well, so they know what it's all about. But yeah, some wonderful matches. I'm looking there, Jones, Lee, Mark Davis against Jamie Clark as well, Matt Seldt against Scott Dolan, and the two Chinese boys, this young boy, this Chang from the Ding Junhui Academy. I've played a few times, and he is very, very talented. He's a real great prospect for the future, so I'm looking forward to that one as well.
Right. I would normally say it's time for the talking to stop from us, but that's certainly not the case. But the action is underway. We'll just take a moment or two to dip in and out of every table before we show you some great memories from the man sitting to my right-hand side, along with Alan McManus. But here's Liam Highfield going for an early red. Well, Liam has beaten Elliot Slesser and Fang Xiangyi, coming through 2 6-5 thrillers, the world number 49. And Zhou Yulong, a few people, Ken, perhaps felt that the world number 17 was a little bit unlucky not to make it through automatically. He's a real danger man for Liam here today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think he's improved so much over these last couple of years, and I know he was sort of pumped in that final against Neil Robertson, but in a strange sort of way, that experience would have done him a lot of good, you know, and of course confidence a lot of good, even getting to the final. But I thought, you know, the way he sort of handled that last match and that pressure clearance to keep himself alive at 5-all was just tremendous. It shows you he's got everything, to be honest, this Zhou Yulong. I've seen him play when, of course, he beat myself and Fergal himself and Yan Bingtao, 15 and 16-year-old in the World Cup. And I was very impressed by him then, and he's just gone from strength to strength. Not a bad little double there from Liam Highfield. I mean, Liam Highfield, you know, very talented player, goes for his shots, left-handed. But I think that's going to be, this is going to be a very interesting match indeed. Zhou Yulong, great prospect already, and you know, those few years behind him, playing at the top of the game, will do him the world of good.
So if you want to watch uninterrupted coverage of this match on Table 1, you can do so elsewhere on the Eurosport app. We will now have a little look across at Table 2. Graham Dott and Tian Pengfei. Pengfei, as Ken was saying, hugely talented. His 2 victories so far. Beat Billy Joe Castle 6-3 and Sonny Akani 6-4. But Graham Dott, do you know what, Ken? I just think he fancies this again this year. There's something about him, and I know we always say that, but you know, there's been signs of some decent form. Last 16 of the UK champs, beat Mark King and Stuart Bingham before succumbing to Kyron Wilson. I think he's a danger man. If he makes it through to the top draw on Thursday at 11 o'clock, no one's going to want the name of Graham Dott.
No, not at all, because he's got his experience, and of course, you know, he's a dangerous player. He's one of those players, I mean, and what he's done over the last years, I mean, he never used to play as aggressive or even as fast as he does now, and I think it suits him. And I think, you know, any of those top 16 players, if they had to face Graham Dott, if he does come through this match, which it should be for me, a very, very close encounter this game. You know, he's one of those that you'd like to avoid. I think for all the top 16 players, they, you know, when they look at the draw that's going to be happening on Thursday, they want someone who hasn't been to the Crucible before, for sure. I mean, that's what I was like when I was in the top 16. They want someone who's totally inexperienced, because sometimes when you go to the Crucible, and particularly on your debut, it can be a real sort of being going, you know, a baptism of fire, as it were. And I think a lot of the top 16 will prefer to play players who haven't actually experienced the Crucible before. Graham Dott is certainly not one of those players.
Yes, you have to go back to 1997 for Graham Dott's debut year at the Crucible. So that's Dotty and Tian Pengfei on Table 2. And not a million miles away from them on Table 3, we have the all-Chinese clash. Liu Hayeo Tian, and Chan being Yu. Ken was saying the 18-year-old is a potential debutant, having beaten Leclerc and Tom Ford. A great victory against Tom Ford, 6-4.
you'd be very impressed with this guy, Rob. He's got a wonderful cue action, very, very straight, real avid practicer up in that Dingzhongwei Academy. He's in there from morning until it closes in the evening, but I'm very, very impressed with him, I must say. Got COVID, of course, earlier on this year, but he's bounced back, and so far he's played really well to get to this Judgment Day stage. And still only 18 years of age, but he hits the ball superbly well. I'm very, very impressed with him.
Have you practiced with him at the academy?
I have indeed, yeah. I mean, you know, that's the one thing about that academy. They've got like Zhu Si there, they have Liu Ning up there, Li Hang, Tian Peng Fei, of course Ding Junhui and Pang, who just lost out to Ali Carter yesterday. We've got a host of players up there.
Certainly a good start by the youngster. It's his first attempt to make it through to the Crucible. He made the last 32 of the UK champs. I was going to say in York, but of course it was in Milton Keynes, as was everything other than the Welsh Open and the Tour Championship. He beat Sam Craigie and Mark Allen 6-5 before losing out to Zhou Yulong. So he has made the last 32 of a couple of events, but going very well indeed here in the early stages of the opener. And what about his opponent then? Is Liu Hayeo Chan? I guess a little bit of misfortune from the perspective of the player he should have faced in the last 18, Noppon Siankam, who failed a COVID test. So he beat Gao Yang 6-5 and then had a bye or a walkover through to this last qualification round. He has appeared at the Crucible once before, beating Marco Fu 10-5 and then losing to Barry Hawkins. But I'll tell you, a mark of how good Liu Hayeo Chan is, he was 8-3 down in that match against the Hawk and got it back to 10 apiece. So, you know, he's got some composure if he makes it a couple of miles down the road to the Cruise. Yeah,
absolutely. You know, he's had some good results over the last couple of seasons, Liu Hayeo Chan, and dangerous opponent. This is a wonderful break so far. I mean, you saw him go into the pack there, even though he had a couple of reds available, and he set himself up really nicely. He's still got 2 reds available, one below the pink here, and this is the start that you really want to settle you down, like in this best of 19. I know it's a long way, but you really want a nice start just to put these balls, get a nice break under your belt and give you that confidence, because there's no doubt about it, you know, nerves, particularly in this opening session, it's just trying to get over them and get settled down into the match. And this is a wonderful break so far. Just a black and one more red will give him this first frame, but what a way to start if you could start off with a really big break here. Really sets a stall out here in this match.
I guess the other thing you can say about him, Ken, the fact that he's only 18 and he's never attempted to qualify for the Crucible before, there are no psychological scars. Perhaps he doesn't, perhaps he's not yet old enough to really appreciate what it means, because he's never had it and then had it taken away.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a blessing. I mean, he's on a really big break here already. I mean, that's 79, still 67 left on the table. Possible 146. He may go up for pink here. So this is a player who would have gone under the radar. I mean, a lot of the, you know, the snooker aficionados out there, they've been watching a lot of these qualifiers and of course interested in on certain like guys to get through and the odds and bets that they might be having. But this guy was one of these that would have been long odds against qualifying, but certainly gone under the radar. But I'm sure he's making himself very aware to all those punters and snooker followers out there.
So his break is 79, as you can hear there from Brendan Moore, Sheffield's finest. We will dip around and give you an introduction on the other tables, but I think it's worth staying with this just to see whether he can tickle his way to a ton. This has been a fine opening frame from the 18-year-old.
Yeah, his dad has managed to come over from China, and he spends endless hours with him up there in the Ding Junhui Academy there, practicing with him every single day. Quite nice to see. And this is fantastic. As I said, he's very talented. You know, he hits the ball nicely. He's got a nice rhythm. Good start, isn't it?
That's his 100. What a way to settle any nerves he may have been feeling. Although, judging by the way he's rattled his way through this opening frame, perhaps he hasn't felt any. What a story that would be for the 18-year-old to make it through. Not as many potential debutants in the lineup of 32 as we've had in previous years. But I think across the 2 days, Ken, I think we've got 7 Chinese players today. I think we might have 4 tomorrow. We've got double figures. It's either 10 or 11. We've got double figures of Chinese players, 1 match away from joining 2 others already, with Yan Bingqiao and Ding Junhui in the top 16. That's a fine turnout.
Absolutely fantastic. And that was a lovely little green, wasn't it? Switched hands, played it right-handed. As you see, so many of the young players in the modern game doing that now, being able to play ambidextrous. But this is absolutely being pristine from Chang Bingqiao. Great start.
Well, what a fantastic break that is. 135. Account opened really nicely. 1-0 to the 18-year-old. So let's nip across. We're just quickly getting a glimpse here of table 4. Matt Selt and Scott Donaldson in the early stages. Scott Donaldson, by the way, leads their head-to-heads 6-0, including 3 in the championship lead. But Matt Selt, the Indian Open champion from a couple of years ago, said he's not bothered about head-to-heads. Now, whilst they look like they're contemplating the very early stages of the first, I wonder if I could ask the director to just quickly move across to table 6, Rob Milkins and Kurt Mafflin. Interesting moments happening over there in the opener.
Yeah, that brown has put him 13 ahead and an easy blue. So this is a good clearance. He's a 54 break when Robert Milkins had a 45-point lead and early on in this frame. So good start for Mafflin here.
This is one of my favourite matchups, Ken, across the 2 days. 2 guys who on their day are absolutely superb. I just can't pick a winner between the 2 of them. I really can't.
And of course, Kurt Mafflin had that wonderful run in the World Championship, didn't he? Last year.
He certainly did. He played out of his skin against John Higgins, as we now just take a quick look at Matt Selt. Oh dear, just struggling to settle in the early stages against Scott Donaldson. Back onto, I mean, we'll have loads of time. That match between Kurt Mafflin and John Higgins was absolutely sensational, but we'll come back to that one. Just a word on Matt Selt. You know, he's had a kind of an okay season by his own standards, Ken, but how well did he play against Stephen Hendry on the great Scots return in the Gibraltar Open? I mean, I said to him earlier this week, I said, other than when you won the Indian Open in 19, you can barely have played better than that. He potted everything.
Yeah, he did. He played very well. And a lot of focus on that match as well because of Stephen Hendry's first match back. So there was a little bit of pressure. But he certainly performed very admirably indeed. And this was, of course, he came through that match against Nigel Bond as well when he was 5-2 down, which was an incredible comeback. So that would have given him great confidence as well. beat me one of the years here in the final frame on Judgement Day many moons ago. Matt Sell 10-9 to qualify for his debut at the Crucible, Rob.
Yes, I wasn't going to bring that up, but you very kindly have done. I think that was 2013, and he went on to lose to Mark Selby 10-4. And he said again, we've had a couple of really good, candid conversations. Once you get him going, you're pretty much a passenger in those chats. He's great, never short of a word or two. I think he feels, Ken, that in all the years he's been a pro, 2 appearances at the Crucible isn't good enough.
Yeah, for someone who was, had, a bit of success, of course, winning that one ranking tournament out in India, you would have thought that he would have been a little bit more consistent. But yeah, two Crucible appearances in how many years as a professional? Probably 10 or 15, I would say. So it wouldn't be a great return for him. So he's probably disappointed. He'd like to put that right, of course. But Scott Donaldson, I mean, he's played at the Crucible. He's had the experience, decent level of experience, and of course playing at the Crucible as well. So he's going to be a tough, canny Scott to beat as well today.
Yeah, Scott made it through 2 years ago. He came through a 10-9 thriller against Lu Ning. Lu Ning playing on table 5, actually. We'll be heading over there in just a moment, but let's see who comes out the better on these couple of moments here in this opener between the Englishman and the Scot. He went on to lose to Kyron Wilson 10-4 a couple of years ago, and last year he was beaten by Anthony Hamilton on Judgement Day 10-5. Anthony Hamilton then of course withdrew over the COVID concerns. And just in case you're wondering, we've had a few people asking us just to clarify what the crowd situation is. Assuming all is well, I'm touching wood here on the desk, assuming we're all fine and dandy, I believe we are at a third capacity for the first round. Then we move to 50%, 75% I think for the semis, and then we've got a full house, all being well, assuming everything goes to plan with the trial, not an experiment, it's more of a trial. We'll have a full crowd back for the final. And Ken, you've played many matches this season behind closed doors. I wonder whether, assuming we do have a crowd and it all pans out as we hope, I wonder whether some players will take longer to settle back in to hearing the coughs and the foes and the squeak, so on.
Yeah, but it'd be nice to welcome the crowd back in. I mean, for all of this, pandemic year, we've played in front of empty arenas, and it's great to have the snooker back on, but you miss the crowd. That creates such an atmosphere, and that's what sport's all about, is playing in front of people, clapping and shouting and the oohs, the ahs, and particularly at the Crucible when they're so close to you. And I'm sure all the players will welcome that back, and that atmosphere and that heat as well, because that's what it's all about, and that's what our game is all about. But it's great news.
Do you think that certain matches and finals would have probably panned out differently had there been the added pressure and support of the crowd? For instance, the match that springs to mind most of all was arguably one of the best moments of the season, Jordan Brown against Ronnie O'Sullivan. Do you think that would have been harder for Jordan or easier with a packed crowd at the Celtic Manor?
It's a good question. Well, I definitely think, when you've got packed crowds, it certainly does add a lot of pressure, and particularly when you're playing Ronnie O'Sullivan, who is it's almost like you're playing an away day anytime when you play Ronnie, because 90% of the crowd will want Ronnie to win, so that brings pressure in itself. But it also has the pressure on the likes of the big players as well to perform, but I think it would suit sort of the lesser seeds for sure.
Okay, so throughout the day, please get in touch with us on Twitter. I know we've got people watching on the Eurosport app. Good morning to you, and a very good morning if you're watching on the World Snooker Tour Facebook or YouTube page. And also if you're on the Sportsman Facebook or YouTube channel. DJ Gandolfini. What a great username that is. Love it. 135. Yep, it is the biggest day of his life, and we agree with you. probably no sign of nerves whatsoever. It was a fantastic opener. If you'd like to get in touch with us on Twitter, you've got 3 means of so doing. If you'd like to ask Ken a question, I think you'll struggle to stump him, but whether you want to ask him a statistical question or what it feels like to climb the sports metaphorical mountain, which of course he did in 1997. He's played some epic semis and quarters over the years as well, and he's won other great tournaments as well as the Worlds. If you want to get in touch with Ken, it's at Ken Doherty 1997. You can also get in touch with our team here on the World Snooker Tour. We've got Benny Boy, Sam and the Hot Rod waiting to receive your questions and comments. And get in touch with the team on We Are WST. So We Are WST, and you can send me a tweet as well. I sometimes fall in and out of love with Twitter, but I have turned it on and I am looking at it today. I'm on at Rob Walker TV. Comments, questions, and I believe it's easier for the team to get hold of your tweet if you add the hashtag I love snooker. So get in touch, keep your comments and questions coming. Meanwhile, this has been an excellent end to the opener for Matty Selt.
I just got one, as you just mentioned it. Stephen Forbes just sent me, said it's like BT goals here in the Champions League night, gone around the ground. Superb coverage, thanks Stephen. The question is, do you know what the record is for consecutive re-racks in a frame? I don't know the question, but I'm sure we'll find out from our team here at WST. They will let us know for re-racks. Hopefully we don't see many re-racks on Judgment Day, but we will find out for you, Stephen, and we'll get back to you.
Well, I'm going to use the microphone here to request the World Snooker Tour team get hold of an almanac to help us out. Meanwhile, we've leapt over to table 8, the veteran Mark Davis. Now, I was marvelling at Graham Dott making his Crucible debut in '97. Mark Davis, the battler from Hastings, can trump that. 1994, his Crucible debut. We'll get on to Jamie Clark in just a moment. Great memories of him in tears, saving his tour status, qualifying for the Cruise last year. Here's a question for you, Ken. I'm not expecting you to know this. It just gives you an indication as to how long ago it was when Mark Davis made his debut. Who did he play? Who did Mark Davis play on his debut? It wasn't you. In 1994.
No, but I played him in 1997, the year I won it. I beat him 10-8 in the very first round. I know that. And then he beat me one of the years when he came back. It might have been, I don't know, 1995.
95. He beat you and then
me,
lost to Ebo.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay, so who did he play on his debut in 1994?
Ooh,
I'll give you
Steve
a clue.
Davis.
I'll give you. It is somebody who has won the world title, but it's not Steve Davis.
John Parrott?
No, it's another single world champion, single title world champion.
Peter Ebden.
Keep going.
Graham Dodd.
I'll put you out of your misery. He played the great TG, Terry Griffiths, on his debut. Mark Davis, he's been to the Crucible 11 times, but that debut going all the way back to 1994. This is a really interesting match. Jamie Clark, how well did he play, Ken? There aren't many this week. In fact, I believe he's probably the only player to have come from 5-0 down against Jamie O'Neill, and then he was pretty good value for his 6-2 win over Joe Perry. I mean, that, irrespective of the opponent, to come back from 5-0 down, that takes some bottle.
That's incredible. What an incredible comeback for Jamie Clark. And of course, you know, he had that wonderful run, didn't he, last year? He was in tears. He wanted to make the Crucible. He got his 2-year card, and he always wanted to have a Tesla car and paid for a Tesla car out of it, which he drives around very proudly in. But yeah, he's a wonderful lad, actually. I really like Jamie Clark. Great lad. Puts a lot of work in. And, you know, this is going to be... and he's against an old war horse there, and Mark Davis, who's bags of experience and still playing top quality snooker. Not as dark in his hairline as he used to be, but I'll tell you what, he's got great experience and a wonderful all-round player, Mark Davis, for sure.
Okay, we'll just watch the closing stages here. Question for you, Ken. Oof, jeepers creepers. Thanks very much, Lee Clark. So there you go, Ken. What will the top... well, I mean, it's so subjective, it's unbelievable. What will the top 5 look like in 5 years' time?
In 5 years, it's a really good question. Oh,
good work, Lee.
Yeah. Funny enough, I mean, there may be surprisingly still some of those players who are still there will still be there in 5 years' time. I mean, you look at Trump, he's still only a young man. What is he, 30, 31?
31, yeah.
Mark Selby, Neil Robertson, Corin Wilson maybe in that top 5. I mean, 5 years' time, will Ronnie O'Sullivan still be in the top 5? I'm not quite sure. John Higgins, but no, I think it won't be much different than what you see now. But you may see someone like Corin Wilson, and maybe even any of these young Chinese players might make the breakthrough as well.
Yeah, we'll just stay with Jamie here, see if he can pull off something spectacular with the pink, having made sure of the frame. Goes for the double. No, safely off, so that's good work for Jamie on the opening frame. Where else haven't we been? Let's have let's nip back to table 3, if we may. I was talking to our director Nick, because we saw that wonderful opening break from Chan Bing Yu, and Liu Hayeo Chan has replied in kind here. This is a good response from the 23-year-old. He's 5 years older than his opponent and still only just a baby himself. So we are all square once again in this all-Chinese battle. That's good work. Let's head over to table 6, which is the Milkman against Kurt Mafflin. Kurt Mafflin took a fairly tense opener, and he's looking good here against Rob Milkins. Another opportunity to have a chat about that great match against John Higgins. I mean, do you know what, Ken? What I loved about that match last summer, Kurt Mafflin played the snooker of his life in that match, and it shows you just how good John Higgins still is, that it takes a player of Mafflin's class to rise to another level, to just knock him out in the second round.
Yeah, I think he's very talented for sure, Kurt Mafflin. And he's had the last couple of months out. He hasn't been playing any tournaments either. He's been back in his native Norway. Hasn't competed for a couple of months at least on the tour now. So it was always interesting to see, would he be a little bit rusty? How would it affect him? But obviously hasn't affected him too much so far. 48-point lead, 43 on the table. A lot of work to do for Robert Milkins.
Oh, and speaking of the Milkman, and I mentioned this to him at breakfast, lovely hotel we're all staying at together. Ken, did you see his clearance to go 5-all?
Yeah,
I mean,
it was quite remarkable.
If you're watching at home and you haven't seen it, Joe O'Connor, Rob Milkins is at the table, 5-4 down, staring down the barrel. His clearance on the colours and his potting, his seemingly effortless pot on the brown in particular, was absolutely incredible. It is worth looking up on the World Snooker Tour YouTube page. You just tap his name into Google and it will come up. I mean, he's got some array of shots in his locker when he needs it, hasn't he?
Absolutely. When Joe O'Connor was sat in his chair, he thought he was coming back to the table. It must have been on at least 3 or 4 occasions, but Robert Milkins kept potting the balls off the lampshade and forced to the cider. But yeah, great clearance. So this frame looks done and dusted. It's going to be a 2-0 lead, you would feel, for Kurt Mafflin, barring a couple of snookers from Robert Milkins. That's no good too. So he's conceded.
So 2-0. Match being played in a good spirit. Leo Scullion overseeing the action. Now then, if you're sitting at home thinking, well, hang on a minute, are they exaggerating about the stakes and the prize and the drama and the emotion? I don't think we are. The man sitting to my right-hand side certainly knows what it takes to get through Judgment Day, and he's had a couple of tough days at the business end of the season as well. And it's exactly the same for the man who sat down with him to reflect on all that Judgment Day means. This was Ken and Alan reflecting on so many great years at the top.
Alan, Judgment Day, the road to Sheffield, the road to the Crucible. We've had some great experiences on the way there, and playing at the Crucible, and of course that last match, so much pressure, isn't it, just to get to the Crucibles, because it's such a big prize, isn't it?
It's massive. The first thing that I think about was we turned pro the same year, didn't we? So I remember the qualifying campaign at the Guildhall. Was the Guildhall Preston?
Yeah, it was.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
My first memory, I think I was 9-6 down to qualify, and managed to get back and win 10-9. So
brilliant.
It was
what a relief. Who was that against?
It was David Rowe.
Oh, right,
Rowe,
okay. Yeah.
But unbelievably nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
What was I can't remember. What was your first to qualify?
Well, the first time I qualified, I beat Cliff Wilson, the old Welsh player. Yeah. I beat him quite easily, 10-6. But I think, the pride, because we've grown up on images of the Crucible, I mean, watching Alex Higgins in 82 and Dennis in 85, for me, they were the huge inspiration. And to actually get there, get to that last match, and the pressure, because the pressure builds, doesn't it? You get through the first couple, but the prize that's at the end of it. And for all these players that are going to witness that for the first time, and even the guys, that have been there before, it doesn't get any easier, does it?
Do you know the other thing about it? I think every year when you go, if you're lucky enough to get to that last round, it always dawns on me, you've got to be brave to put yourself in that firing line, because it's, in a lot of ways, regardless of even what you've achieved, you've been world champion, win all sorts of titles. It's, in some ways, it's the biggest match of your, not maybe your career, but the biggest match of your season, by far.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. It can really make a player's season, isn't it? Like, no matter what you've done through the season, but if you qualify for Sheffield and win that match on Judgment Day, it's just an incredible relief. I mean, we've both witnessed both sides of the scale, because some of the heartbreak on Judgment Day that I've lost. I mean, I remember losing to Jimmy Robertson when I was holding, I think I was 6-3 lead going in, or it might have been even 7-2 going into the final session, and losing at the qualifier. I lost to Matt Sell 10-9.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've been in the same boat as well.
I've lost a couple of 10-9s and 10-8s, I think. I'm trying to forget them, but you can't, you can't forget them.
But what about the prize though? When you actually do? I mean, you managed to do it last year. You qualified, and you come back out, into the place that you've always dreamed of playing.
Some of the best moments in your snooker life, I think, are the walk from the table. You put your cue away and you've got to 10 first, and you've got to go and speak to maybe Rob or one of the couple of the press guys, and it's some feeling, isn't it? When you've got the draw coming up in a couple of days, and you're like, this is all, I'm enjoying. This is good fun, and it is maybe the best feeling of any match. Obviously, brilliant if you win a big prize, but the excitement, that knowing what's round the corner in about 4 or 5 days' time is awesome. Yeah,
they call it Judgment Day for a reason, and it certainly is that. And as you said, well, let's hope we can be there, or whoever's there. We wish them the best of luck, and let's hope they have some of the experiences that we've had, because it's been really good to us. It's been good to us that it's been bad, but we still enjoyed it.
Absolutely, do you know what it is? It's the time of your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
The time of your life. Well, win or lose, certainly memories that will stay with these players for many, many years. Great to get a little insight there from the darling of Dublin and the Angles. So this is what we're calling the Octo screen. If you're just joining us, welcome. Stay with us, keep us company. 9 frames, and then we'll come back for 10 tonight. And 8 of the men currently playing will be in the draw for the 2021 Betfred World Snooker Championship, when it's made at 11 o'clock on Thursday. A couple of tables we haven't brought you yet. Let's have a little flick over to table 5, if we may, for the second all-Chinese clash today. It's Lu Ning, the 27-year-old, against Liang Wenbo, the Chinese firecracker. Wenbo memorably made a run to the quarterfinals on his Crucible debut way back in 2008. Played Ken that year. And he's up against Lu Ning. Lu Ning into Judgment Day for the second time. Agonisingly lost that decider to Scott Donaldson, who's over on table 4 against Matt Selt.
He's had a really good season, hasn't he? Lu Ning got to the semi-finals of the UK Championship. Made 4 centuries, I think, in a row against Matt Selt on the way there, but played superbly well, Lu Ning. Another player from Ding Junhui's academy, but yeah, very impressive with him this year, particularly his scoring prowess.
Wenbo was in early on in this frame. Thought we might join it and see him compiling a useful break, but it's Lu Ning with an opportunity to further improve on a useful start.
I do like watching Yang Wenbo. You call him a firecracker, and you know he's quite funny to watch, but very, very interesting. You know, he's very unlike a lot of the Chinese players. I mean, he's a little bit more emotional, isn't he? And he certainly wears his heart in his sleeve, Yang Wenbo.
He's a brilliant character.
Yeah.
I remember when he won the English Open in 2016,
up, yeah.
he went mental, didn't he? It was brilliant.
That dance was incredible, wasn't it? Yeah.
Isn't he famous for shouting, "Come on!" Brilliant.
Yeah. This is another going to be a tough match for both players. Good start though from Lu Ning, and the way the balls are situated, could make a frame win and break here. Go into a 2-0 lead.
Fine run, as you mentioned, to the UK semis after his match with you.
Yeah,
was brilliant against Matt Selt. Then he beat Elliot Slesser. Pang Jung-Soo, what a good player Pang Jung-Soo is. You know, Ali Carter was so relieved to come through that match yesterday. And then after he beat Pang, he beat Joe Perry before coming up just shy against Judd Trump, before Trump and Neil Robertson played that match that finished at about 1 o'clock in the morning on the Monday. That was one of the extraordinary finishes to a UK Championship earlier this season, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. That Miss Pink from Judd Trump will certainly haunt them, I'd say, for a few years' time. Lu Ning, though, still in control here. He's one of these type of styles, Rob, that he sort of plays, but he sort of saunters around the table. You know, he's very, just really strolls around the table. Not a care in the world. And I'll tell you what, he's got a very good cue ball, I must say.
We'll stay with this for a while, but by the way, Scott Donaldson, having taken the first against Matthew Selt, is on a break of 26 in the second, and Chiang Pen-Fei has taken the second frame against Graham Dott. So the pocket dynamo over on table 2 has got a little bit to think about in the early stages. But do you know what, Ken? I love the fact that we preserve the last round of qualifiers as a best of 19 proper long frame format snooker.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, I miss playing the best of 19s, to be honest. I think, okay, I can understand it, the best of 11s in these early rounds, but do miss playing the best of 19s from round 1. It's a real test, isn't it?
And it allows room for different chapters of drama. I mean, I get the feeling from the perspective of being a player from your side of the arena, a best of 7, you've got no time to recover from a bad start, have you? If your opponent takes the first 2 frames, you're really under it.
Yeah, you're on the back foot, yeah. But that's such is the modern day now. He's coming a little bit straight on this black Lu Ning, and that's why he's taking a bit more time. I mean, he could still play for the red just below the black here. But these, as we've seen, the pockets along this top cushion behind the black are very, very tricky.
Jamie Clark on a good early break in the second frame against Mark Davis, by the way, having taken the first. So we'll get across there once we see what's going on here between Lu Ning and Yang Wenbo. we're guaranteed a minimum of 4 Chinese players because we've got the 2 all-Chinese clashes today. So Ding and Yan Bingtiao will be joined by at least 2 of their compatriots. And when you bear in mind there are 11 competing in all, it's quite some accolade for Ding, I think, having set the academy up. Continuing the Chinese theme, Harry Cosgrove. Good morning to you, Harry. Jiao Xintong or Zhu Yulong, who has the more potential?
Oh,
what do you think
very,
about that?
it's a very, very good question from Harry Cosgrove. To be honest, I think Xintong is a little bit more raw than Zhu Yulong. Zhu Yulong has a more measured game, more all-round game, and so far has been the more successful of the 2. But I really do think that Zhao Xintong is probably the most talented of all the Chinese players. I mean, outside probably Ding Junhui, obviously, but I think he has the most talent, the most natural talent of them all. But natural talent alone, it doesn't guarantee you're going to have as much success as somebody. The others are a little bit more measured, and but I must say, Zhao Xintong is, I think, you know, he is another one to watch. He's a very, very talented boy. I love watching him play.
Well, there's a real declaration for you, Harry. Keep the questions coming. Here's one from Warren Pilkington, not on the screen. I'm just checking my own Twitter on this one. I think his tongue was half in his cheek when he's asking this question, but it does give us an opportunity to reflect on a monster frame. He's asking you, Ken, how you would have coped if you'd had to play that 2-hour, 5-minute epic final frame late-night decider between Fergal O'Brien and Dave Gilbert. When was that? Was that 2017, I think? It was. All I remember is the frame took longer than the existing men's marathon world record at the time, and I believe they spent about 40 minutes on the yellow and the green.
1 hour on the yellow, apparently. Over 1 hour on the yellow. So Phil Yates told me. How would I have coped? With plenty of coffee and lots of sugar, if that answers your question, and a good sleep afterwards for sure.
I felt so sorry for Dave Gilbert. I mean, that was a couple of years before Dave had that incredibly emotional run to the semis where he lost the decider to John Higgins, but of course he didn't know that was going to happen in 17. He walked out, and you guys are always obviously forced to do press conferences, whether you like it or not, even running the risk of the odd fine here and there. And Dave Gilbert just marched out, and on his way he said, "I'm not sure what that was, but that wasn't snooker." Never to be seen again. Marched out into the late Sheffield night sky. That was one of the strangest ends to any Judgment Day qualifier that we've had.
Yeah,
so
Fergal O'Brien thought it was good though.
He did. Old 5-ton Fergal.
Fearless Fergal.
Fearless Fergal. James Kendrick, a slightly more serious question, just wanting to know whether there will be any interruption to the snooker as a result of the royal funeral. That is yet to be confirmed, James, but you will be the first to know when we get some kind of official clearance. But I think that is still being decided and deliberated by the.
I think there is going to be some sort of delay, I think, for that afternoon, for sure. And they're contemplating whether to stop play during play or just delay play to a different time. I think that's what they're contemplating at the moment, but I'm sure we'll keep you up to date as soon as we know.
Yes, at the moment there is not a hint that we will lose the entire day's play, and the minute silence will of course be honoured as it should be. A very light-hearted question to follow that. This has clearly got nothing to do with snooker. Maybe he's just ordered one. Jack Swindlehurst, great name. Anyway, Jack's asking, what's our favourite pizza toppings? These are the sort of questions you normally expect if there's a 2-hour frame between Fergal and Dave Gilbert. So the Darling of Dublin, what do you normally go for a pizza?
I love a pepperoni pizza for sure, but I think my favourite might be, believe it or not, just vegetarian with chili flakes. I love a bit of chili flakes or chili oil on it, so there's certainly plenty of veg on it, but I do love a pepperoni now and again.
What a pot that was, by the way.
Quattro Stagioni, I think that's the Four Seasons, isn't it? No, Four Seasons pizza is pretty good as well. How about you, Rob?
There's only one. It's got to be the Hawaiian.
Oh,
ham and pineapple. Some people
I can't believe you said that. I
No.
can't believe anybody can put pineapple on a pizza.
It's
the
perfect ingredient for a pizza.
No, I should never have been allowed. Sorry, Rob. You're getting a red card for that. You get an official warning for that.
Okay, it's probably the question that's caused the most debate so far. Thank you very much to Jack Swindlehurst. Keep them coming. As a reminder,
this could be a very early dagger for Liang Wenbo to strike here. Like he was 46, 45 behind with these 2 reds. Now he's only 41 behind, so he has a great chance, Liang Wenbo here, Rob, to clear up in this frame. He needs 2 reds, and he'd probably take 2 blacks, so maybe he possibly can take 1 pink, of course. But what a big frame this could be, and it's only such early stages. But these frames, they really do help you when you're in your quest to get to 10. So early in the match to strike a blow like this. When we came to this table initially, we saw Liu Ning right in amongst them and should have really made enough to win the frame from. Now this is a real pressure clearance, Rob. Perfectly on the black. You can miss the pink with the cue ball. Just come off 1 cushion up for this yellow.
Liu Hayeo Chan, by the way, has just gone 2-1 up against Chan being used. So Chang being used, brilliant start with the 1-3-5, was followed up by 2 very composed visits by the 23-year-old Liu Hayeo Chan. So Hayeo Chan over on table 3 is leading 2-1.
I don't think he'll jump up and down if he does make the clearance, but you might see a little fist pump from Liang Wenbo. He's got a bit of work to do. Needs all 5 remaining colours. And of course, we always say, like, the first frame, to get your first frame on the board as well, just to settle you down, is so important. What a first frame to get on the board for Liang Wenbo here. If he can hold himself together. Would have liked to be straighter on the blue, but he's okay. He can come off this top cushion, miss the black on the way down and miss the pink on the way back up. A little bit hard. He needs to, yeah. Oh, that was a lovely little glance, wasn't it, off the pink, just to straighten the cue ball up, because it would have been a more difficult shot with the rest. Big shot this on the pink. He'd be nicely on the black if it goes in. Oh, as I said, there's so much pressure earlier on in this match, in all the matches. And that'll be disappointing for Liang Wenbo. Reprieve for Liu Ning. A little bit short. That was very careless from Liu Ning. Should have been tight in the ball cushion with the pink. He's given him a chance of a shot here. This pink is cuttable into the green pocket. Playing it with a touch of left hand side just to widen the angle. Yeah, good shot, and he looks like he's going to be nicely on this black. Excellent pink from Liang Wenbo. But a very poor safety shot from Liu Ning, you have to say. Black for the frame. Well played. Liang Wenbo, excellent.
He just occasionally gives that little shake of his head as he walks off. Now, we've joined table 7 because we haven't had an opportunity to speak much yet about Jamie Jones against Li Hang. They've played a couple of times, but their last match way back in 2009 when they were both new to the circuit. Li Hang is 30, Jamie 33. Great to see Jamie Jones back playing again. He was almost crying when he spoke to us after beating Michael Holt 6-3. Back on tour. Everybody, including Jason Ferguson, who gave a nice quote after Jamie had served his ban. Everybody happy to see the charismatic Welshman back with us on the circuit, and the fact that he broke down in tears after beating Holty just shows you how much it still means to him. He said, had he not come through Q School last year, he said to us, Ken, he's really not sure if he would have, I think, had the, not the heart, but the motivation to sort of hang around for another year and put his life on hold. So it was massive for him coming through that cauldron, that other cauldron of qualification last year, and he's had a fine season. I think he's very close to the top 16 on the 1 year list. I'm delighted to see Jamie back.
Yeah, he's done well, hasn't he? I mean, having that hiatus out of the game from a ban and coming back, and yeah, I mean, it means a lot to a lot of these players, but you know, different circumstances for each player. But he's played really well. He's played really well since he's come back. He's obviously worked very, very hard. He may have maybe a little bit more determined, and he's done very, very well, Jamie Jones. Yeah, and when he gets on a roll, you know, he's hard to stop. Gets very confident, and the way he played in that World Championship, of course, when he had that run to the quarterfinals, it was a great experience for him.
That was back in 2012. Beat Sean Murphy. He's beaten Sean Murphy twice at the Crucible. Beat Murphy and then Andrew Higginson before losing to Ronnie. One of his mates, apparently, was telling me at breakfast this morning, Ken, one of his mates said, "You're already guaranteed to be there, don't worry about it." Jamie was saying to him, well, hang on a minute, you know, Li Hang's quite a good player. And then his mate said, no, have you not noticed the every third year you make the Crucible? You were there in 2012, you were there in 2015, you were there in 2018, so it's written in the stars that you'll be there in 2021.
Yeah. .39 behind, so he needs a snooker, but he could do it. He might even pot this red and pot the black, and then try and get a snooker on the 6 colours. I'll tell you who's got off to an absolute flyer, Rob, is Tian Peng Fei. We spoke about him playing Graham Dott, you know, who's got bags of experience and, you know, lifted the trophy, of course, at the Crucible. But Tian Peng Fei is absolutely flying at the moment. Looks like he's going to go 3-0 ahead of Graham Dott on table 2.
Great start for the 33-year-old, the world number 53, having beaten Billy Joe Castle and Sonny Akani. We'll just stay with this here, just to see if Jamie Jones can somehow get over the line in this frame. But yes, that is a fantastic start to the match by Tian. Semi-finals of the Scottish Open, as did Li Hang, incidentally. They both went really well in Milton Keynes. Getting very tight at the end of this frame on table 4 between Matt Selt and Scott Donaldson. But we'll just stay with this just for now, and then we'll head straight over to table 4. Zhou Yulong is one apiece with Liam Highfield. A reminder, you can watch that one with uninterrupted traditional coverage with commentary on the Eurosport app. or you can stick with us as we fly around all 8 tables. Mark Davis at the table on an early break after struggling in the first 2 frames against Jamie Clark. So we'll nip over to table 8 at some stage just to see if the battler from Hastings can live up to his nickname.
Yeah, he's 26 behind here, Jamie Jones. So 1 snooker on the brown, he'd need them all to tie. So that's why he's playing for 1 snooker on the blue, because he could, if he gets the snooker on the blue, he can win. Of course, it's 5 points, penalty points on the blue. He needs to get this behind the black.
Chan Peng Fei's on a break of 88 over on table 2. Now, let's just, I know we are going to come back and see the end of this safety exchange. I wonder if we could just quickly nip over to table 4, please, just sort of asking the director as we go. Key moments in this frame between Matt Selt and Scott Donaldson.
Yeah, he just plotted the blue into the right centre pocket as we look, but he hasn't got enough purchase on the cue ball. There you see the scores, 51-51. He needs pink and black. He's not bothering to take the pink. And he's played a very, very good safety shot. He's trying to hide the cue ball behind the black, obviously, but he's played a really good safety shot there, Matt Selt.
Just a quick update whilst we see what reply Scott Donaldson has. Chang being you, having taken the first with 1-3-5 and then lost the second and third. He's on a break of 33. Mark Davis is on a break of 25 on table 8, having lost the first 2 frames. We'll keep a close eye on that one. Liang Wenbo over on table 5 is on a break of 39, having nicked the second to settle himself down. And Liam Highfield is on a break of 14 on table 1. Chan Peng Fei got a century, so he is now 3-0 up against Graham Dott.
That was a really good shot there from Scott Donaldson. Ooh. Well, he's played trying to hide the pink behind the black there, Rob, but he's overcooked it. So a chance for Scott Donaldson here, not to pot the pink, but certainly to lay a really telling snooker behind the black. Knock the pink back up into the bulk area. Try and get that cue ball either tight behind the black or tight to the top cushion behind the black. Oh, this is really good. Very, very good indeed. Matt Selt put himself in trouble there. And okay, not difficult to hit the pink, but difficult to hit and get safe.
Slow match, this one. And by the way, if you are particularly interested in Selt and Donaldson and you want to know, that's a costly error there for Matt Selt. I've had a word with Martin Clark and he said he doesn't anticipate starting a frame after 3 p.m. this afternoon because he wants to ensure that the players, if they are involved in a match that's going slow, he wants to ensure they have enough time to eat and digest a meal before
fair.
Coming back at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Good call. Here you see he's going off 1, 2, 3, possibly 4 cushions. Oh, and he may knock the black safe here. Ooh. But that 6-point penalty that he's given to Scott Donaldson could prove crucial here because it gives Scott the chance of just needing the pink here, and he'll definitely take this pink on. These are ones you've really got to stay still on. Has he got away with it? No. So pink is over the pocket, but now I think he's okay. The angle is not great, but he certainly can get down towards this black, but he's going to have to play a good shot. This is not straightforward.
Barring snookers, sorry Ken, by the way, barring snookers, Yang Wenbo has taken the third against Lu Ning.
Oh, he played that very, very well, Matt Selt. I was just going to say, you could have lost the cue ball there to the top cushion, but he's got a nice angle on this black for a black ball game. Yeah, well played, Matt Selt.
Really nicely done there by Matt Selt. So he's on the board on table 4. Now, we updated you on the score. Kurt Mafflin had moved 3-0 up against Rob Milkins, and here is, just a few moments ago, him finishing off that third frame. We talked about the brilliant colour clearance to go 5-all that Rob Milkins produced against Joe O'Connor a few days ago. Mafflin's really taken control in the early stages of this match, but the advantage, Ken, of a best of 19, of course, from Mafflin's point of view, 3-0 is an excellent lead, but it's not panic stations from Milkins.
No, not at all. I mean, but a big frame for Milkins coming up before the mid-session interval, just to try and get that first frame on the board, and of course cut the deficit as well. Doesn't want to go 4-0 down, but a good start from Mafflin. He looks very, very good indeed in these opening exchanges.
So that was the Viking, the expatriated Londoner, now flying the flag for Norway, moving 3-0 up. And Chan Peng Fei on table 2 produced an excellent break to also move 3-0 up just a few moments ago. So we are just trying to make sure that we bring you the end of significant breaks, even if it's just 1 or 2 minutes behind the live coverage. He's already in the balls in table in frame 4, by the way, so it really has been a great start by Chan. But again, Graham Dott won't be panicking yet, and he is the kind of guy that can scrape himself off the tarmac to do special things. My mind goes back to an unbelievable first round match between Graham Dott and Stuart Bingham, when I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, didn't Dotty recover from something like 8-2 or 8-3 to force a decider, which Stuart Bingham won? So Graham Dott won't be panicking yet, but this is a fine, fine showing from the 33-year-old from China.
81. Yeah. He's done really well here. And he's got off to a perfect start. I thought this was a really tough match for Tian Peng Fei. Graham Dott would have been obviously favourite, but this is a wonderful start. Of course, he's been working very, very hard with Steve Feeney, sight right. Another player who got COVID during the season, but was out for a few tournaments.
88.
Couldn't actually play, couldn't come back to the academy, and Ding Junhui's academy, for I think the best part of 3 months. So he's practicing solitary on a table in a friend's place, and well, this is a wonderful start for Peng Fei.
'97.
Seen some great breaks already today on Judgment Day Part 1. By the end of tonight, which 8 players will be joining the top 16 in Thursday's draw? Live 11 o'clock. I believe you can see that on all the same platforms that are available today. World Snooker Tour Facebook and YouTube, the Sportsman Facebook and YouTube channel. I'm not sure if it's on the Eurosport app. I will clarify that. So that was Chan Peng Fei for 3-0. This is the Octo screen, and we're heading over to table 3, Liu Hayeo Chan against Chang Bing Yu. Remember, the 18-year-old took the first with a 1-3-5. Hayeo Chan responded, taking the second and third. And this is us joining them in their last frame before the mid-session interval. Chan Peng Fei, by the way, over on table 2, is absolutely on fire. He's back in the 4th on another big break, about to go for a half century. Speaking of which, Kurt Mafflin has just moved to a break of 52 against Rob Milkins, so it's looking very, very likely as though Mafflin's going to go in with a 4-0 lead at the mid-session interval. Peng Fei's break is up to 56 as we focus on one of 2 all-Chinese clashes today. And just to clarify, the draw will be on the Eurosport app on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Keep the comments and questions coming, by the way. They're rolling through thick and fast. Here's a question for you, Ken, whilst we watch these key moments between Liu Hayeo Chan and Chang Bingyu. Squiffilect, I don't know whether I've pronounced that correctly. Anyway, whoever you are, thanks for your tweet. Ken, did you have any superstitious routines, like particular clothing, do's and don'ts? He's mentioning this because Dave Gilbert apparently, and now that this tweet has come in, it's ringing a bell for me. Gilbert always wears black and white stripy socks. Did you have anything that you stuck
No,
with?
I didn't. I never had a superstition, to be honest. I never walked under ladders. That was about it on the way to the Crucible. But no, I sort of... I mean, we used to do this more or less the same routine, have maybe the same breakfast and stuff like that. But that was about no real sort of weird superstitions. No same socks every day like Dave Gilbert. I mean, I hope he was washing them in the evening time, like sticking them in the bath and putting them on the hot rad. But no, I didn't have those sort of. But I do. I must say, I do like his socks, Dave Gilbert. Those stripy black and white ones that he wore at the Crucible. I do like I used to always wear the black socks, but I do like a little bit of colour now. It's nice to see Dave Gilbert with the different coloured socks, I must say.
He's a real character, Dave Gilbert. He won himself an army of fans for the manner in which he made the semis against John Higgins a few years ago. He was absolutely devastated when he went out in the first round last year.
Alex Higgins was one, wasn't he? He was one for all the little Lucky Charms and trinkets. He used to carry this little leprechaun around with him, and he used to sit on the table beside it. It used to be his lucky charm. But when he lost, I think came into the dressing room once, and the head was off the leprechaun. It was thrown in the head was in one corner, and the body of the leprechaun was in the other. So that was the end of that lucky charm.
Here's a good question for you, Ken. This is
Yang Pang Fei has actually gone 4-0 up now on Graham Dot. It's a wonderful start. We're in big trouble all early days, even though it is best of 19. But yeah, go on. Sorry, Rob.
Chang Peng Fei 4-0 and Kurt Mafflin 4-0 as well. A tweet here from an account called Change Loch Wynneth. My dad and I had the pleasure of meeting Ken at his snooker club several years ago in Terenure.
Terenure, yeah.
Is it still going strong, this person?
It's still going
asks?
strong, tell him. Yeah, it's still open, although it's still in lockdown, so it's not open yet, but it's still there.
And this is from Stephen and his dad, Kenneth. So
very
a Kenneth
nice,
to a Ken. And a question to both of us, apparently, about what a fantastic ambassador Shaun Murphy is and how far can he go at this year's Crucible. You go first.
Yeah, he is a wonderful ambassador without a doubt. And of course, he's proven quality. He has won it. And he could surprise a lot of people, I think, Shaun Murphy. I know he sort of had an up and down sort of season, but I think he could surprise a few people. He'd be one of my definitely outsiders of the first four in the betting, but he will be one to watch, Shaun Murphy for sure.
Faced 78 in the frame. Right, guys, it is 7 minutes past 12. Makes it 22, please. Yeah.
Chan and Dotty off for their mid-session break. Meanwhile, we return to Liu Hayeo Chan and Chang Bingyu. Just finishing off Stephen's question about Shaun Murphy. Yeah, I've been asked to write a series of just sort of character portraits of each of the top 16, which I've done for the Sportsman website. And I wrote in that about Shaun Murphy that I think it's impossible to tell how he's going to play at this year's World Championship because it has been such a difficult campaign for him. And Ken would, of course, know a lot about how difficult the various rules of going home made things for Irish players and other overseas-based players. I mean, you've basically been living in an apartment here in Sheffield for months, so I think it's been really difficult for Shaun. But if he can get through a first-round match, he could get on a roll and really shine. But I'm just quite happy to see him playing with a smile on his face again. Well, this is how Kurt Mafflin headed into the mid-session interval. 4 up instead of 3 up. What a start by the man who stormed his way into the quarterfinals last year, beating John Higgins and then playing an absolute epic against Anthony McGill. If you remember, it looked as though McGill would be really struggling, having finished late the previous evening where Mafflin had had 3 days off. But in fact, it was McGill who started brighter, and it took Mafflin a little while to settle into that match, which he eventually lost 13-10. But it was a fine run to the last 8, and he's given himself a wonderful opportunity in the early stages. By the way, Jamie Clark 2-1 up against Mark Davis, so the battler from Hastings has got one on the board. Early on in the 4th, Liang Wenbo is 2-1 up against Lu Ning. Liam Highfield and Zhou Yulong still locked together at 1 frame apiece. Matt Selt has levelled things up against Scott Donaldson. So a couple of these matches going very, very slowly indeed. Jamie Jones is on a break of 41 on table 7. 1 apiece at the moment with Li Hang, so an important visit for him as they edge towards their mid-session interval. Really enjoying your interaction here. Ken and I are going to be here for quite a few hours. Jamie Jones' break moves through to 62. So going well, the Welshman on table 7. Ryan Day came through a tight match yesterday, so we've got quite a few Welshmen to be watching over the couple of days. Warren Pilkington, he's been pretty prolific on Twitter. We're guaranteed at least 1 debutant this year. Igor Figueiredo against Mark Joyce. How many more debutants do you think we'll get? He thinks the max will be 6. What do you think, Ken?
Let's see, what was that question again? I was checking some of the questions that was coming into me on Twitter.
How many? Warren Pilkington was asking how many debutants we think there will be.
Oh, very good question. Well, there's definitely going to be 1, isn't there, between because Figueiredo is playing Mark Joyce.
Yes, he means apart from them.
Apart from them, I think we may have another. I would say 2 or 3. I'm going to go for 3, so 4 altogether maybe.
Possibly not as many as we have sometimes had in the past. I wonder if that's just one of those coincidences, or whether it's an indication that the standards are improving so much, Ken, or are we reading too much into that?
Definitely the standard is improving for sure. You know, but it is very difficult for players, you know, that haven't been there before, you know, and particularly if they're starting right down at the bottom, they've got to win 4 matches, so that's quite tough. Most of the players from, you would feel in the top 32 that maybe only have like 2 matches to play. Most of them would at least play 1 match at the Crucible. Definitely, this Chang is one I'm predicting that will be at the Crucible for a few years for sure.
Tell you what, just whilst we're waiting for this one to edge to a conclusion, we've just seen a fine century from Jamie Jones to go 2-1 up. So let's just see if we can see him finishing that excellent break just literally a minute or so ago on table 7. We just wanted to see how that KG exchange would turn out between the 2 Chinese players. But here's Jamie. settling down excellently in this match, Jamie Jones. So this was about 1 minute or so ago. So if you're supporting one particular player and they come up with something sensational like this great century from Jamie Jones, we will try and spin it round for you a minute or two later, just so that you don't miss it. So Kurt Mafflin 4-0 up against Rob Milkins. Liang Wenbo edging ahead against Lu Ning. But this was Jamie Jones taking an early lead against Li Hang. Now the powers that be, that's the glimpse of the crucible right now. 3 days, 21 and a bit hours to go. 10 o'clock Saturday morning. Ronnie O'Sullivan, who will be coming out to face him. He has the honour of appearing first of all as the defending champion. And in 2019, that honour fell to the irreplaceable Mark J. Williams, 12 months on from a world title that will long linger in the memory. A title after which he embarked on a 49-week global pub crawl to celebrate. World Snooker Tour got in touch with a brilliant cartoonist. Apparently he's a Londoner who is now expatriated and lives in Greece. He's a huge snooker fan, and he came up with a few cartoons, and they are animations narrated by the player himself involved in the story. So this is Willow's version of 2018 in his own words with his own cartoon. This is brilliant.
Yeah, I was playing in the Crucible and I won one match and got asked by one of the reporters about, you know, have you got a chance of winning this? And I opened my mouth and said, if I won this, I'd do the press conference naked. And I thought it was quite good at the time, and didn't that half backfire on me. After the semi-finals against Barry, didn't finish the media duties till about 1:30 a.m. and was absolutely shattered and starving and nowhere to go. And on the way back, we seen a kebab shop open, which was just down from the hotel we were staying in. And I said, my friends were up there as well. I said, come on, let's go and get a kebab. I'm starving. So we all jumped in and ordered, and I think I had doner, kebab, meat and chips, large, tomato sauce, chili, everything on it. And I think it was quarter to 3. We were still in there finishing it off. And I knew I had a game the next day, but I was just can't leave a kebab when I start this, so I had to finish it. And then just got to bed. I think I went to bed about 4 in the morning. And then after I won the final, then I think I can remember Hazel saying something to me out in the arena, are you going to hold up your promise? And I thought, oh my God, what have I said? And but I went into the dressing room. Barry Earn was there, as clever as you can think, with a Betfred towel. And I said, no, Barry, I'll have to do it naked. I'm not going to put that on. He said, no, you're not allowed. And he said, you have to put this towel on. I'm not sure if that was true or just a little publicity, little stunt, but he gave me the towel, and I probably got to thank him really otherwise, because it was very cold that evening. And I went and done my press conference. I held a man of my word, had done it. I wish I kept my big mouth shut, and I will keep my mouth shut from now on. No more silly quotes from me.
That I am never tired of watching that. How good is that? How good is that animation, Ken?
It's very, very good. Yeah, really good. Great story as well, wasn't it? Particularly the one of the night before and the kebab and getting to bed at 4 in the morning. But to do the press conference, and we all waited and bated breath to see would he actually go through with it. But yeah, it stuck to his word. Fair play to him, Mark Williams, and did it naked. It was very, very funny, I must say.
Oh dear.
I wonder what Ray Reardon would have thought of that now, I must say. John Spencer, 1977.
Well, it was just amazing. I remember the BBC Wales reporter Gareth was doing the interview with Mark, and he removed the towel as he sat down. And one of my favourite photos from that year was the look in Gareth's face as the towel came back over to the other side of the table, and Gareth realised he was going to have to carry on doing the interview with Mark Williams before him in all his glory in his birthday suit. To be fair to Gareth, he managed to get his questions out.
I wonder what happened to that towel, Rob. Probably.
I reckon Willow took it home, probably. But anyway, so we've got a few more of those Crucible Chronicles to bring you. The just brilliant animation from the Londoner now living over in Greece. We've got a few of those. There's one with John Higgins that I've seen, and there's one with Neil Robertson and a few others. So, Mark Davis here against Jamie Clark. Mark Davis, the man who made his debut against Terry Griffiths back in 1994 against Jamie Clark, who beat Mark Allen last year 10-8 before a very interesting match against Anthony McGill in the second round. But Mark digging in here, showing the qualities that have seen him succeed on the tour for more than a quarter of a century. He hasn't won a big one, but made the English Open final in 2018.
He's a little bit unlucky there, Mark Davis. He played a good shot off 2 cushions into the pack of 4 reds, but the only red he's got is this red past the blue up into the top left-hand corner pocket. A bit of danger attached to it. Not an easy pot. Could stun it just past the middle pocket for a ball colour. Yeah, well played. Good recovery. Very nicely played indeed.
Lee Hang on a break of 27, by the way, hoping to level things up with Jamie Jones after Jamie's excellent break for 2-1. And Matt Selt going well on a break of 59 on table 4, currently 1 apiece with Scott Donaldson. Chan Peng Fei and Kurt Mafflin are the 2 men with sizable leads at the moment over Graham Dott and Rob Milkins respectively.
Oh, that's a poor miss from Mark Davis. Just stunning the red in for the black, and a couple more reds and blacks might have been enough for him there. Yeah, dead straight almost, just punching it down for the black. A chance now for Jamie Clark for a counter attack here. Good play for the pink into the same pocket when potting this red. He's got to avoid the 2 reds just below the pink to the right, but there is a gap there to go between pink and reds. Oh, maybe he's screwing it in. He's screwing this in, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. Oh, he played it nicely. Yeah, good shot. And he's got a nice angle on the black as well. Not too straight. He can just stun up for one of those reds below the pink.
By the way, Ken, whilst we're watching to see whether Jamie can capitalise on that potentially costly error from Mark Davis, we got a semi-order on the re-rack question that came in a little while ago. We don't know the specific answer on the world record for the number of re-racks, but in the 1987 Masters opening round, Dennis Taylor played the former world number 3 Neil Folds, who'll be doing a fabulous job for Eurosport over the coming 20 or 25 days. It was the first time 2 re-racks happened for an individual frame, so that was 1987. And here's a question for you, Ken. This is from the Sportsman website. Oh, actually, this is to both of us. If we were stranded, not together, on a desert island with the ability to transport one snooker legend with us, who would it be and why? You go first.
Oh, very good question. I would have to say Alex Higgins. It'd never be a dull moment, that's for sure.
I would go with Steve Davis, because Steve has been in the jungle, so I know he wouldn't get moody if the food dried up, and he'd have some great stories to tell.
Yeah. Steve Davis, Jimmy White as well. Imagine if Steve Davis and Alex Higgins on the same desert island. Wow, that would be something. That would make great TV, wouldn't it?
Oh, here's a good. There's so many good questions. We will try and get through all of them. By the way, bear with us. Matt Cook asks Ken, if a qualifier was to go on and win the title, as TG did in '79, and then Sean as a 22-year-old in '05, of course. If a qualifier was to go on and win the title, which one would you say has the best chance? He's adding one rider apart from Stuart Bingham. So who out of the 31 other qualifiers still in contention is the likeliest to go all the way and win the world title?
That is a very, very good question. Well, of all the matches I've seen so far today, I think Kurt Mafflin is one of those for sure. And yeah, Stuart Bingham is definitely another one. I know we can't mention that one. Ali Carter. Carter would be a good shout as well. He's bags of experience, lots of talent, and he'd be a danger to anybody. I mean, if you were a top 16 player, you wouldn't want to be playing Bingham or Carter in the first round either, if they got through, of course. So they would be my picks.
This is more of a comment than a question from someone called Russ. He's saying to me, how ironic would it be if Ronnie reached 7 world titles the same year Hendry comes out of retirement? And he quite rightly makes the point that it would take his Triple Crown tally to 777, because at the moment, of course, he's on 7 UK crowns, 7 Masters, and last year was his 6th world title.
I wouldn't put it past them, would you?
No, I wouldn't. And also, I don't read too much into the fact that he's lost 5 finals this season. I think getting to 5 finals is an indication that he is in fine form and fettle. You can never rule out Ronnie O'Sullivan. Right, this is table 5, Lu Ning and Liang Wenbo. Not yet quite heading off for their mid-session interval.
Yeah, 31 points in the lead, Lu Ning. Only 27 remaining, so 1 4-point snooker required for Liang Wenbo. And that could be the end of frame. Yellow's very close to this bottom left-hand corner pocket. And he's got to be careful here, though, Lu Ning. If he pots this and avoids the kiss on the pink, the cue ball could be going close to the right middle. Well, have a look at the cue ball. Have a look at the cue ball. Oh!
Never in doubt. Just a little tap
excited
on the
here. Getting a little excited here, Rob, but that was close.
It certainly was.
I think if that yellow had gone into the middle of the pocket, it didn't go into the middle of the pocket. Had it gone into the middle, that cue ball may have gone into the middle pocket itself.
So while these two are contesting their last frame before the mid-session interval, Kurt Mafflin and Rob Milkins have already resumed. Jamie Jones on a useful break of 24, having taken a 2-1 lead over Li Hang. Zhou Yu Long is at the table, trailing Liam Highfield 2-1 in frames, but he's on a break of 27 and now turning to 34.
It's no surprise, is it, that Kurt Mafflin and Rob Milkins are the fastest game so far.
So that's what we call the octo screen. Let's have a little look in on table 1, if we may. Zhou Yu Long against Liam Highfield. We haven't checked in there for a little while. Well, I think that probably counts as a commentator's curse, doesn't it? Heading over to join what looked like a useful break at the very moment it comes to a temporary end. Jamie Jones on 31 now, hoping to turn the screw a little bit and turn 2-1 into 3-1 before the mid-session interval. Matt Selt's 2-1 up against Scott Donaldson now, over on table 4.
Yeah, Lu Hao Tian has done well. He lost that first frame to that century break to Chan Bing Yu, but has rallied, won the last 3 frames, so he goes into the interval 3-1 ahead. Jamie Clark, Mark Davis is still in that 4th frame, Rob, and there's only 8 points in the difference. It's quite very evenly contested.
Interesting question here for you, Ken. I mean, you can debate these all day long, but
have a look at this.
But I think
no,
nearly a character, an account here called Knee on Belly, which I think is something to do with wrestling. Anyway, the question from this person is Judd Trump in the top 5 greatest of all time at the moment? Before you answer that, just to clarify, he is, what is he at the moment, 7th on the all-time list or 6th? He's on 22 ranking titles. Willow's on 23. You've got Davis on 28. Higgins is on 31 now.
I don't think he's not in my top 5 at the moment. I mean, he's had a couple of really good seasons, and he possibly will go ahead of those players. But I think of all the ranking titles, I think it's the big ones, it's the majors that he has to accumulate more of. The Masters, the UK, and indeed the World Championship. It's just one World Championship under his belt, so he's got to accumulate more of the Grand Slams for me, the majors as we call them. But he's got plenty of time on his side, and there's no doubt he has the ability. I mean, he's had a couple of fantastic seasons, and he will be one of the men to beat, of course, at the Crucible. But compared to some of the other guys in that elite group, yeah, I think he's got to win a few more of the big ones.
Yes, I mean, if you look at him on 22 ranking titles, as I mentioned, Mark Williams is on 23 overall, 3 of which are world titles. Davis is on 28 ranking titles, 6 of which are world crowns. Higgins has won the worlds 4 times on 31, and Hendry and Ronnie are on 7 and 6 respectively for their overall tally of 36 and 37 ranking titles. So yeah, you are right, he is some way behind in terms of the big ones. Overall though, to answer, or just to add further debate to your question, knees on belly, whoever you are, what a tally. 14 ranking titles plus the Masters in the last 29 months. That is how prolific Judd Trump has been. That is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, incredible, and unbelievable performances in those tournaments that he's won. And he's had a great return. He's miles ahead, of course, as regards number 1 and in the rankings. But yeah, I think to get into the best players of all time, and to try and overcome the likes of John Higgins and Mark Williams, and even Mark Selby. I mean, Mark Selby will be ahead of him in the greatest players of all time so far. So yeah, so he's got a little bit to do, but he's certainly well capable of doing it, and plenty of time on his side to do it as well.
Lots of debate, and we'll have plenty of time over the coming days. Speaking of which, I wonder if the director wouldn't mind pinging us over to table 8, because I thought I just glimpsed Mark Davis and Jamie Clark all square on 44 points each, with just 1 red remaining. Clarkey leading 2-1. Mark Davis hoping to ensure he goes in all square at 2 frames apiece. So an interesting time to be joining them as they edge towards their mid-session interval.
Oh, this is a wonderful shot from Jamie Clark. He's got Mark Davis in a bit of trouble here. He judged that to perfection. 1 cushion escape. Cue ball just before the middle on the right hand side. You've got to play it with a little bit of left hand side on the cue ball. And he's got to try and hit the red, and also get a good deal of separation between red and cue ball. So you're trusting a little bit of luck here. Be happy with that. The red is potable past the pink, I'm sure, for Jamie Clark. Big shot. If he pots it, Maybe on blue or ball colour for sure. Long way away, and he could have left it. He certainly has. Now, is that blue going to go close to the left-hand cushion? I've just held up the fraction because that could prove crucial. If the blue had gone tight to that left-hand side cushion, Mark Davis would have needed it. So, at the moment, the balls are there for him. Nice frame to pinch if he could. A little bit straight on this black. Yeah, it would be a nice frame to pinch, wouldn't it? Just the last frame before the mid-session interval. But he doesn't have a great angle on this black. And there's a lot of cue power here to try and get that cue ball anywhere near the yellow into the. No. He's giving himself a shot at the yellow. Where's the green? In what pocket will the green follow? If he does pot the yellow, that will be the difficult one. 8 points in the lead, so he will need that blue. Good pot. Oh, nearly went in off. That could have been disastrous if that had gone in off there, but he's definitely not going to pot this green. Just got into the cue ball a little bit too much here. So what can he do with the green? Just got to play a good safety shot. Try and, first of all, get the green safe. Maybe put the green off the side cushion, maybe somewhere down behind the black. Green or cue ball behind the black would be good. It's okay. So 10 points behind Jamie Clark.
Hayeo Chang, by the way, is at the table. Over on 3 with an early break, having returned from the mid-session interval, 3-1 up. Mafflin's in again on a break of 26, falling up against Rob Milkins, who's having a bit of a nightmare. Liam Highfield on a break of 40 with just 1 red remaining, hoping to go in 2 frames clear of Zhou Yulong at 3-1. That would be quite some victory for Liam over Zhou. I think provisionally, with the 15,000 that all these men are guaranteed now, having made the 4th and final qualifying round, I think Zhou provisionally is up into the top 16. That's how tight it was. Anthony McGill got the 16th place on the actual rankings. So Liam Highfield on paper with the toughest matchup. And he's certainly going very well at the moment. Lu Ning and Wenbo are 2 apiece. Jamie Jones 3-1 up. Scott Donaldson's on a break of 23 on table 4, hoping to go all square at 2 apiece against Matt Selt. Mafflin's break is now up to 38 on table 6. Well, let's just see whether Jamie Clark can win this battle. That's a superb job on the green. It really is. He's come on in leaps and bounds the last 18 months, 2 years, hasn't he?
He has, definitely. And I tell you, he's got a nice angle actually on the brown into this right centre, because the cue ball will be going there. You see the angle. The cue ball will be going towards the blue, so there's not much pace to put into this brown. Excellent shot. Now, how's the angle on the blue? Doesn't look like he has much. Maybe slight angle, but just make sure of the blue and give yourself a shot at the pink. Yeah, the angle wasn't great. Now, big shot this is. 2 points in the lead for Jamie Clark. Just the pink required. Now, how do you play this? Do you play it with lots of screw, with the cue ball back into the bulk, or does he play it just with top spin? Just try and cue it nicely. I like to play these with top spin, Rob. If you're playing it with lots of sort of screw and left hand side, you know, you're putting a lot more sort of charge on the cue ball and much more harder to control. But he just plays this, fully commits to it. He plays it with just top spin and just try and float this yellow in, or float this pink in. I think that gives him the best opportunity to try and pot the pink here. But if he starts using them with side or screw, it's just, you've got to be so much more accurate. I think he's just going with the top spin. You've got to stay so still on the shot. Yeah, good shot. Very good shot. You see, that's the perfect way of playing it. Excellent shot, and well done, Jamie Clark.
Really good stuff there from Jamie Clark, showing great composure. Scott Donaldson was on a break and still has the very early slender advantage over Matt Selt. But the 2019 Indian Open champion, there's an opportunity here. Says he's contemplating playing less snooker from next season onwards. He's got lots of other good stuff going on in his life. We've touched on it before. If you've just joined us, Ken Doherty and I were remarking on just how well Matt Selt played, not just against Stephen Hendry in the opening round of Gibraltar, but the other wins that followed were really impressive. Beat Barry Hawkins, beat Kyron Wilson, and then came up short to Judd Trump. But I think he showed what he's capable of at his best in that run in Milton Keynes.
Yeah, I'm surprised at him though. If he's saying he's going to play a little bit less, it doesn't give him, you know, that much more of a chance. Like, of trying to, as we were saying, he has the talent to, you know, of course, winning the Indian Open. But if he's really sort of got serious ideas about doing better and going further, playing less is not. That's not going to help him, I don't think.
We'll come back to that, because we are returning our attention to the fastest match so far. And one of the reasons for that is that Kurt Mafflin is absolutely on fire against the Milkman. Rob Milkins, you can just about make him out top right as Leo Scullion walks up in front of the Gloucesterman. Rob has just got his arms slumped over the advertising hoarding. Kurt Mafflin missed that one down the rail, but not enough to stop him taking a 5-0 lead. 5 more and he's in the draw on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Very, very impressive from the Norwegian.
Yeah, Robert Milkins really needs a frame there very, very soon indeed. Try and salvage something from this session. If you know, 2 frames would give him a little sneak, but if he doesn't win at least 2 of the next 3 frames, he's going to be such a tall mountain to climb for him.
And I think he's a name that none of the 16 want, Ken. I think he's a really, really tough draw for somebody coming through, because he'll go into that. He'll have the confidence of knowing he's knocked out John Higgins less than 12 months ago, well, eight months ago, because we were delayed to the summer. And, you know, and he's got nothing to lose.
Absolutely, yeah. And with an impressive performance like he's putting up so far, there's still a long way to go in that match, you know, and of course that experience from last year, that will stand him in good stead. This match has taken a little bit more time, this one. Matt Selt.
24.
It's been a bit of a grind so far for both players, but he won't mind. He takes a 1 lead going into the mid-session interval.
Well, another good question here, Ken, just whilst we watch to see whether Matt Selt can extend his lead. This is from Out of Context Snooker. A question for both of us. If you could re-watch any match in history, guaranteeing that you no longer know the score, which would it be?
Oh, great question.
That is really good.
I would like to watch possibly the G. White Alex Higgins semi-final in 1982. That would be my match, because that was one match that sort of inspired me to play snooker that year in 82, and also, you know, to see that clearance from Alex Higgins at the end. When you didn't know the score, I mean, that would be enough to get the sort of juices going.